But again, they were like 14. You know,
See
they were kids as well.
He keeps trying to like giving them excuses.
It doesn't. In most states, that doesn't matter. They committed felonies even if they were under 18.
Right. Yeah. I wish I can go back and say like told somebody. I was so rattled that I just kept it in, and I didn't tell. I think I told you when I was a senior in high school. So
yeah, my mom, when we talked to her about it now, she was like, I picked you up that day. Like, I remember that day. He didn't say anything.
And that's sort of very typical. And the way our brain works with trauma is we just push it in the back and go, well, I've dealt with it, and just disconnect from it. Right. And it is that disconnect that is the problem. And so that traumatized part of yourself is left behind, and literally the neuronal inputs get disconnected. So it's literally a part of you that is disintegrated from the rest of yourself, the rest of your brain. And that injured part needs attention, and it will motivate behavior to get that attention.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like that really set the tone into, all right, now I stayed away from it for a while, and then by like freshman year, I was like, I'm drinking a lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes you said when you get sad, when you were drinking a lot, you get sad and cry about it?
Yeah, like later on, like there was a couple times in college, you know, I would break down to a close friend that I would eventually trust. It takes a lot for me to trust humans after that, honestly.
Right. And that's, again, lack of trust. So let me just give you a little primer on how trauma, we talked about what it does to you. Now, how do you get over it? Well, so it leaves you unregulated. It leaves this whole part of yourself behind that needs attention, that can't get it because it's not connected neurologically to the rest of you. It demands attention. It gets it through nefarious means. To get better, you literally need other brains. You have to enter a frame of closeness with another human, which is exactly what you avoid if you've been traumatized, right? So this is no small task. You've got to get involved in a tight, close, open exchange emotionally with another human being. And that's what trauma therapists do. They're specialized in that. And they have ways of getting you there. All this good stuff you're doing with Transcendent TM and everything, all good, will not heal your trauma. It will not heal your trauma. You have to have trauma-informed care from another brain. Brains heal other brains. And by you essentially offload some of your experiences that comes back to you from the trauma therapist in kind of a metabolized form that you can tolerate. It's not about revivifying the trauma. It's not about reliving the trauma. Nothing like that. It's about just getting you to regulate your emotions as they come up, particularly that part of yourself that's way off in the distance. And things like EMDR and emotionally focused therapy and trauma-informed therapies of various type, very, very effective.
All right. I'm excited for that. I mean, that's like a good little something because I tried a therapist in high school, didn't enjoy it. I didn't like him.
Well, you have to get sober first because you can't really do this work until you're really living a certain kind of life. Yeah. Being rigorously honest, not diluting your central nervous system with whatever, because you can't do the work with all that stuff going on. So the first 3 step, first order of business is get the sobriety going. And some people would say you shouldn't even get into the trauma therapies until you've been sober 6 to 12 months, because sometimes they're evocative and become a good excuse to go use.
Okay.
Wow. I love you.
He's the man. I fucking love him, dude. I told you.
Oh my God. I've been like obnoxiously trying to tell Ryan, like, hey, you need therapy for like years. And I never said it. Did I get through to him? I never said it correctly, but everything you said is like, oh, wow.
Well, he's going to resist for many, many reasons, right?
Yes.
Because one reason was he wanted to keep drinking. So that was going to be, he didn't want anybody to get at that. That's what alcoholism is. You organize everything around you to make sure, nobody gets in the way of that. So there's that. And then the trauma also, typically the defense around trauma is I've dealt with it. I don't need to deal with that. I don't need to deal with that. I'm fine, which is the opposite of the truth. And so those two forces keep people from getting proper care. But you're doing great. I mean, look, how would you say 6 months sober now?
Yeah.
That's huge.
I've never been happier. Like I'm pretty, I'm pumped for life. What? Oh, I ran the New York City Marathon. I hobbled it. I hobbled the 7
You did it.
It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, he's like accomplishing crazy goals nowadays.
Well, the running was very helpful for sobering up because, your mind is racing, and when you're running and blasting music, you don't really think about. I mean, you do kind of think about some life, but you're just going, and it definitely helped big time. Not my legs, but my brain.
Excellent.
Yeah. So
it's a daily thing. It's a daily thing. Staying sober. It's that's why they say one day at a time. You can't go, for the next 10 years, I'm never going to touch anything. No, just worry about today. It's too much to think about the next 10 years. But in the meantime, taking care of your psychological, brain, their brain issues. I mean, our brains get injured just like every other part of our body can get injured. And guess what? There are treatments, and guess what? They work. So that's the good news. You live in a time when these treatments are quite efficacious.
Dr. Drew, I recently got my brain examined by Dr. Amen.
Mm-hmm.
I did a scan.
Right.
Do you recommend that Ryan does that?
I know Dan very, very well. Did you go to Newport? Is that where you went?
No, I went to there's one in Encino, California.
Okay. Yeah, there's one in Encino too. But I wouldn't do that just yet. You have significant tasks at hand already.
Yeah.
If you are effectively engaged in sobriety and you're in trauma therapy and you have persistent symptoms that nobody seems to be able to help you with or you can't explain, yes, then that's a good time to go there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Can I ask you too, for family members?
Mm-hmm.
Because we always knew Ryan as oh yeah, it's Ryan, he's drunk, but he could function so well, that I would have to ask my manager or my friends, do you think he has a problem? And because I couldn't see it, and I didn't know he didn't have a handle on it,
Right.
And I think my family and I were so no way, no, we were so just denying it.
Well, let me talk you up to see addiction the way I see it.